What's up, everybody? I wanted to do this quick video because I told another consultant that is looking to purchase her first lighting kit for photographing the clothing. She's looking on places like Amazon at various lighting kits to purchase. I've used a lot of those lighting kits. I've got a lot of the pieces that those lighting kits offer in my studio. So I told her that I would essentially look at the lighting kits that she's looking at and kind of give my own opinion, the pros and cons of those, maybe that there's other lighting kits out there on Amazon or other places that would be a little bit more beneficial to buy, stuff like that. So first I said that I would have to go down to my studio and set up a kit that closely resembles the one that she was looking at on Amazon. The one that she's looking at on Amazon is essentially two semi-transparent umbrellas. It comes with 3 stands and 3 light bulb heads, which off the bat makes me just wonder why there's 3 stands, 3 light bulb heads, but it only comes with 2 umbrellas. To me, that's maybe they were expecting that somebody might want to take one of those stands and put it next to one of the other ones so that there'd be 2 light bulbs in 1 umbrella. But I have stands that are very similar, and they're not as easy once they're open at the bottom to put right next to each other. So I'm not really sure why they gave enough for 3 of everything except for the umbrella, which is the part that's actually going to modify the light. The point of the review, or the point of the reason why I was setting up these 2 semi-transparent umbrellas, was because I was going to try to closely mimic that kit, and also to be able to get a better idea of the question, are semi-transparent umbrellas with continuous lighting being put into the umbrella, shot through it, or having the light bounce from the inside of the umbrella, is that really the best way to go as far as photographing the clothing, especially for somebody that's not used lighting for their photography before? So I've got similar umbrellas, as you can see here. I don't use semi-transparent umbrellas in my portrait photography, and the reason for that is because semi-transparent umbrellas, they tend to throw the light in a lot of different places, and for me, I'd like to be able to control the light a little bit more. I'd like to be able to put the light basically where I want it to go, and that just gives me a little bit more creative freedom for portrait work. So that's why I don't use umbrellas in my portrait work or my product photography work. I do have an umbrella called the Soft Lighter, but that's actually more like a softbox, so it's a little bit more contained, and it does have actually an outer cover. So and I say that because I'm going to show it to you, which it is an umbrella basically, but you'll see what I mean by it's not necessarily the same as, say, something like this. But so basically I did the test, as you can see behind me. I wanted to try to closely mimic what you or a lot of consultants are doing as far as photographing the clothing, and that's hanging them, say, with a hanger on a backdrop very close to the wall like that, or pretty much right up against the wall like that. I just wanted to mimic exactly what I see a lot of consultants doing, so that when I give essentially my opinion on whether or not umbrellas like this, constant lights, are the best way to go, I can get close to the scenario. Well, we use a form, and we put the form right about here. So this is it's a good 5 feet from the backdrop. So if I kind of set it up like that, it wouldn't be really the best way to say, hey, I set it up how you would, and I think this, if that makes any sense. So to go into exactly my opinion, first off, a lot of the kits on Amazon, actually, when I typed in continuous lighting for photography or constant lighting for photography, they showed results where they all offered like single bulb heads. And personally, I don't think single bulb heads are the way to go. I've got this, which is a lighting kit that I got from Amazon. I don't say kit. I didn't see this in a kit. I know I got this from Amazon, but it wasn't as a kit. I purchased them separately, and then I added things to it. But this one's from a brand called Photo Studio, which is basically just a generic non-name brand's photography equipment, and you'll find that a lot on Amazon. But I got this one when I was basically learning my photography. I was learning what continuous lighting is, and I wanted to purchase something that that housed bulbs for continuous lighting for photography, but wasn't expensive to be able to get my feet wet. But if something happened, or if I decided that this continuous lighting wasn't the way to go for that I wanted to for my photography, I didn't spend a lot on the units. But it's just nice, at least in this scenario, because I have these to be able to test them. I use these now for other things like video lighting, and even just lighting in the house if I need more light in a spot temporarily. So I don't use them in my photography, but I still use them. But these, as you can see, they have 4 bulbs, and if you can see on the back, they have 2 switches. So essentially you switch one on and off, and when you switch it on, 2 of the bulbs come on, and you switch the other one on and the other 2 bulbs come on. So the reason why I think I wouldn't choose a lamp head with 1 bulb is because I can unscrew 3 of them and just have 1, and now I'm in the same situation as the other ones where I have just 1 light bulb, but I have options. The other one with the lamp head with the 1 bulb, you just have limited options. So you're essentially, the light that you're putting onto your subject is really only as bright as that 1 bulb that you purchase. And if you find that maybe you need more light once you have everything set up and ready to take the pictures, well, then you're running to the store. If you decided maybe at one point, okay, you know what, now I've got 2 of these and it's too much light, well, you're not dimming it. It's either on or off. So you just have less options. If you look at these 2 lamp heads that are by known actual photography brand names, the first one being Westcott, that is called a Westcott Spiderlight with a tilter bracket, but it's essentially their Spiderlight system. It's their continuous lighting system. You can see that one offers 1, 2, 3, 6 bulbs. The other one is by a company called Impact, which is it's a known, I would say, it's a brand name for photography, versus one like this where it's not it's got a brand name, but I would say that it's just a cheap generic, versus these that are a little bit more expensive, but they're a little bit more of a photography known company, I guess, if you're gonna put it in any way. But so this one's called Impact. That's the brand, and this one has 4 sockets. So just like this, they're all pretty much the same and similar. But I just wanted to show you these 2, because by showing you the Westcott, which retails at $4.19 but it still gives you the ability to put 6. I've seen the ones with Westcott where they have 5. And I've seen, I'm not sure about Westcott where they have 4, but you can see with the other brand Impact, they have 4. So I want to just point these out because you can see that good brand name photography equipment, they will tend to have, from everyone I've seen, 4 or more bulbs. So when it comes to the single light ones, the ones, if you can purchase a kit from, say, Amazon or wherever else you might look, I would essentially look for ones where you can get more bulbs into the unit, because that just gives you more options. The bulbs that I have here are LED daylight balance bulbs that I got from Target like a week ago, and they are these guys. Now, like I said, I'm using them for video, so I didn't go in for the little bit more expensive. I think these were less than $20, but there was a 4-pack there that was maybe around 20. These are, they say, 500 looms per bulb. So essentially 4 of them, I've got about 2,000 looms per bulb. So that's an okay, decently bright output that the 4 bulbs lit up in one spot would put out. So if I had one of those units with 1 bulb and I wanted to, say, match this, I would have to get 1 really bright bulb to be able to do that. And the reason why that's important is because when it comes to photographing the clothing, the amount of light that hits the subject is going to result in the little bit better quality photograph that you get. And what I mean by that is, in your camera, whether or not it's a smartphone or whether or not it's a high-end digital camera or an extremely expensive, say, medium format camera, the sensor is what gathers the light. The less light the sensor has to gather, the harder the sensor has to work, which is going to result in what we call grain or noise in the photo. In our digital cameras, there are some apps with a smartphone, but in our digital cameras, we also have the ability to turn up what's called ISO, which is really essentially the film sensitivity, how sensitive it is to the light. So I could say, oh look, there's not enough light in the room. I'm going to turn up my camera's sensor sensitivity, which means that less light has to hit it for it to gather it. But when I turn up the camera's sensor sensitivity, it has to work harder, and again, it results in noise or grain in the picture, which is basically reduces the quality of the end photo. So the more light you can get onto the clothing when you're photographing it, at the end of the day, that's going to result in a cleaner photo. There's always a kind of, you do this, then this with a lot of things, but especially in photography. So if you get a lot of light on the photograph, you want to make sure that the light you're getting on the photograph is what we call soft light. If you take a really bright light and just kind of get it close to the photograph without really anything to make it soft, it's going to result in harsher shadows. And shadows are good. Shadows show basically that something that's three-dimensional look three-dimensional or look like it has dimension, because we're really looking at a 2D surface. We're looking at a photograph. So shadows help make that 2D surface look like it has more dimension. Hence, right now I've got the light over here. I'm putting shadow on my face. It's giving me a little bit more dimension than if I just maybe put it right in front and I had no shadow. So shadows are good. We just don't want them to be harsh. Okay, and with that in mind, that was one of the things that I was looking at when I was testing these umbrellas, was when I put the light behind the umbrella, is it letting enough light through to really not overwork, say, the smartphone sensor, so that there's a lot of noise and a loss of quality, but is it also creating harsh light, or maybe vice versa? Is it not letting enough light through, but maybe it's softer? That was what I was looking for. So essentially what I did was I took this guy, I put him on a stand like this, okay, and I had the clothing set up, and I took one of these umbrellas and I stuck the light in it, and I aimed it so that the clothing was on the other side over there on the wall. So I did this in multiple ways. I did it where there was one here, and they were aiming both at the clothing to try to mimic what you'd be doing. I tried one setup and another. I also tried turning it around so that the clothing was on this side and the light would go into it and bounce back. And when I pretty much came to find out, what I realized was, or what I saw with the results, was when it was aiming into it, the light definitely was softer coming out the other side, but it didn't let enough light through. Now, I mean, you could say that maybe I didn't have bright enough bulbs, but then I'd have to spend more on bulbs. But it didn't let enough light through. So the resulting light onto the clothing was softer, but there was definitely not enough light for what I think quality results from when I was actually, I had my iPhone on a tripod. So what I think quality results when taking photos with my phone. When I turned it around, and I had the clothing on this side, and I let the light hit this and bounce back, some light did pass through, but a good amount of light bounced back. So I found that the lighting on the lighting on the wall was a lot brighter, which was nice. It helped the quality as far as the photo being cleaner, less noise and grain, but it was a little bit brighter, and I didn't really like the way it also threw light in areas that wasn't helping the photograph. Then I tried this guy right here, which is basically, when at the time I got this bulb head, I purchased two of these separately from Amazon. So they didn't come in a kit. But it is essentially, it's like an umbrella. It opens like an umbrella, but it's more like a softbox. It's much more contained. It's got a silver lining, and I have the ability to take this, essentially this diffuser, this sheet of fabric that is basically semi-transparent, and stick it over the front. I tried that. Of course, you can, as you can see, you can only have it going one way, the light coming out the front. The light does not go through the back. I tried that with and without the diffuser. The the light that hit the subject was better because more light was being directed toward the clothing. With the diffuser on, it was softer, but I was actually surprised because I thought this was going to be something that I would be, okay, I'm going to recommend this, but it actually closed off too much light. So there wasn't enough light, say, just surrounding the wall around here that I would have liked to have recommended to, say, a consultant that hasn't used lighting like this before. By recommending that, you would just have now a little bit more work to rein it in, and I don't think that's the way to go. So essentially a shot in the dark. I have these small, again, cheap umbrellas that I got years ago from Amazon when I was essentially learning off-camera lighting for photography. As you can see, like this one, it's transparent, or not transparent, it's opaque. No light gets through. I couldn't even tell you the brand name. Why the outside's shiny, kind of like this, I have no idea. I guess that's looks. But the important thing to note is the inside. You can see that the inside is got this silver material. So of course you're going to take the light and you would shine it through, or you would shine the light into the umbrella like this, and it fills the umbrella. So it takes a light source that's really only this big. You can see a light source that's really only, this big, and turns it into a light source that's this big. The reason why I'm showing you this is because this is closer to that softbox that you just saw, but it's a little bit more open. So as far as the light that came out of this, when I got it pretty much closer to the subject like this, it actually put enough light out that lit up the clothing nicely, but also put light around the wall. So it was pretty much your backdrop would be evenly lit as well. And at the end of the day, when I was looking to see what I would recommend for, say, somebody that has not used off-camera lighting like this, an umbrella like this would be what I would recommend. It threw light evenly enough around where you're going to be putting the clothing to make it so that you don't have to do a lot of work or try to gain knowledge on how to rein that in and control the light. But it threw enough light out to where it was bright enough, of course, depending on the bulbs you're purchasing, so that if you have, I would absolutely have two of these, 2 stands, 2 light heads, and 2 of these umbrellas. But since the light was put into the umbrella and bouncing out, that in turn softened the light, I think, enough that with 2 of these you're going to have enough light and a good amount of softness so that your clothing is going to be just pretty much well lit and the shadows aren't going to be too harsh. After that, what else is going to affect your photograph is pretty much your knowledge of the camera, whether it's the camera app that you're using or if it's the point and shoot or DSLR. It's going to be pretty much the knowledge of the camera that you have that's going to also help your photographs, because that was the first time that I really ever photographed the clothing with an iPhone or with an app, and I can see what troubles that I would have. Troubles like I was using the Camera Plus app, which had the leveling bar in the middle, so that if the phone was maybe crooked, it would level itself, which I thought was nice. But then once I put it up to the clothing and the line was semi-transparent, it was really hard for me to see the line at all. So it was almost useless. So the last thing I want to leave you with is, when you're looking for kits, when you're looking for these kits that are going to come with these modifiers like umbrellas or something like that, which is basically, when I say modifier, it's going to modify how the light gets thrown onto the subject. I think the umbrella, semi-transparent umbrella, or not so, I'm sorry, I think the non-transparent umbrella, putting the light into it and bouncing it back out, is going to be the way to go. I would say 2 of these at least, but 2 is good.